call this meeting to order.
Bad, Nancy.
This meeting's new member orientation. Let's go around the table and identify ourselves for the record. So if somebody wants to listen to it, they can. Chris, we'll start with you.
Christopher Constant.
Felix Rivera.
Suzanne LaFrance.
Rod Dyson.
Dean Franklin.
Barbara Jones.
You good? Okay. We've got IT first. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for inviting us. I'm here to talk about Anchorage Works and reporting constituent requests or submitting constituent requests through Anchorage Works. I'm sure most of you have seen this on the Muni.org website. So just below the mayor's picture is an AnkWorks or hashtag AnkWorks logo. It takes you to a web portal where constituents can submit requests. So they can report anything from an illegal camp to issues with solid waste services or people moving across speed. And we'd like to encourage you to use this. It's mobile friendly. It's available on your cell phone or iPads, and you can either you've got a constituent you're talking to, you can bring it up and enter the issue right there, or you can direct constituents to the AnkWorks portal through muni.org. And I'm going to show it is mobile friendly, so I've got an iPhone I'm connected to, and it's not cooperating with me. So the muni.org homepage is not quite as mobile friendly. Let me start this. Sorry, it's a little bit slow because I'm talking to an iPhone somewhere over the internet. In the cloud. All right, so AnkWorks shows up there at the top, so it should be easy to find on any mobile device. This is an iPhone 6S, which is the smaller screen. So click on the AnkWorks logo, and the AnkWorks portal is very mobile friendly. It reformats itself, reflows itself to fit whatever screen size it's on. Of course, on the small screens, you just see a small portion of it and you scroll. It's sort of difficult to scroll with the mouse on a touch device. We scroll to find the issue you want to report. Let's say we want to report a vacant building.
Do you guys need the lights off? I can go shut them off. The screen burning there for you?
Let me do that.
Thank you.
And when you select an issue to report, it'll bring you to a service request form where you can fill out the constituent's name and some other information. I'm going to walk through that on the bigger screen here because
You want to, do you want to handle questions as you go or wait?
How would you like to do it?
I'm okay with taking questions as I go.
Mr. Dyson, questions? Yes.
Folks I know that are kind of the lower end of the social thing are, most of them don't have smartphones.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they can go to the library, but how else do they access, or can they?
The library would be one good resource. I'm afraid to access this, smartphone or computer at the library or at a school. I'm not sure how they could access it aside from going to the library if they didn't have a smartphone or a computer on the internet. There's still phone numbers that they can of course call.
Yeah, but they tell me that many of the jobs that they want to apply, they got to fill out a form, which I think would be difficult. Okay, Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, on that note, I was thinking the same thing. I kind of see two issues here. One is that this is for us to submit information on behalf of constituents, but at the same time, it's also for constituents to do it for themselves. And it doesn't help for the job application system, but I imagine that's our job if they don't have the means to do it, and they've called us.
Right, the job application system is separate from this, and this is really just for reporting issues and complaints to the municipality.
But not for looking for work.
Not right now, we can do it.
Anything else, Chris?
Nope.
Go ahead, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the questions. So they fill out their information. Some departments have decided to allow anonymous submissions. So if you're perhaps reporting that your neighbor's dumpsters are blocking your driveway, you might want to submit anonymously. We don't publish any of the information of people who submit, but some people still want to submit anonymously. And that is optional by department. I've been working with public transportation. They want to allow anonymous complaints. Solid Waste Services does not want anonymous complaints because they need to know who and where to contact to investigate and resolve the issue. So you're going to select, I've got an abandoned vacant building, enter some information about it. Either put in free form information about the location, you can just type something like the intersection of Lake Otis and Tudor, or you can enter physical address. .632 West 6th, right, where we are. The constituent or you can attach pictures, Word documents, PDF files. For example, for public transportation, if somebody's complaining about a dirty bus shelter, they can snap a picture of it and attach it and send it for the public transportation inspector to see. Once they submit a request, they get a thank you and a reference number that they can come back online and check the status of that request, or use it when they, if they have to call the municipality to get further assistance on that request. It's a pretty simple, straightforward, fairly easy to use system. Not a lot of bells and whistles. Basically, the constituents just pick from a list of categories, and then in each category there may be further selections. Like people mover has different types of problems you can report from the bus was late, the bus didn't show up, Title VI complaints, route driver. There's also a place where constituents can tell public transportation they're doing a good job, or there's a mayor's kudos section where they can say somebody in the municipality is doing a good job and send that to the mayor's office.
You guys have some questions here.
And so it's wonderful that we have this. My guess is the city is way short of investigators to go out and chase down the complaints and so on and so forth. And second question is there a way that you can kind of sort on those and say, hey, Mr. Trainee has sent in 46 complaints, and
How did you know?
easily 30 of them are just nuisance stuff and without substance. And can you group them by location and so on to figure out if there's been a lot of complaints in that area?
We can, if we get locations, we can do reports on those locations. Duplicate requests can be linked together. Maybe not exactly duplicates, but they can be, if Mr. Trainee submits 30 requests for the exact same thing, all 30 can be linked together and dealt with as one issue.
Right, and the investigators? 5 months?
I can't speak to that because I'm just the technology side of it. Every department has a
He's only the
different
messenger.
process.
Yep. Thanks.
Every department has a different process for dealing with it. Public transportation, I keep coming back to them because I'm actually going from here to do training session with them because they're just recently ratted. They have a customer service department, 3 or 4 people. All requests come into their customer service department, and then they'll send the requests out to their different groups as appropriate. We don't know yet whether they're going to have enough people to deal with all the requests.
Okay, I got your answer. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Constant, sir.
Yeah, is there a feedback loop where these issues that are reported get sent to members of the assembly in their district, say by address? I know the Muni website can identify.
There's currently not. I actually was looking at that just before the meeting. We have only about 20% of the requests that we received so far this year could be tied back to a specific assembly district. And that may be because we didn't get an address or it was reported anonymously, so there wasn't any way to tie it back to an assembly district. But we can do some reporting back to the assembly.
Because I don't remember the last time we saw a report off of this coming to the assembly.
You don't remember, you don't
No.
recall? Don't believe it's ever been reported to the assembly.
It would be useful to see what's out there. If you get us a report, I would appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Mr. Rivera.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, does the assembly have the software to look at? So this is the sort of external interface, but there's also an internal interface that requires sort of a license. Does the assembly have one of those licenses?
We have plenty of licenses. The issue is it's only available on the internal MOA website.
Right.
And I'm not sure what access the assembly has.
Does the clerk's office have access
Clerk's
to one of
office
those?
does, yes.
Okay. All right. So, because it's and can the clerk's office look at like do they have access to look at all of the different complaints coming in?
They have access to it. I would imagine that we would need to do some training because I'm not sure the clerk's office is currently using it.
Barbara, are you currently trained on using this system? So the data comes to you and then you send it to the assembly members, or?
We can work with Dean and make sure that happens. It's sort of complicated right now, and right now I don't have access to the full data that you're looking for, but I can work with Dean if you'd like that. And we could then do a report and put it on an AIM for you quarterly.
That would be good if you could do that, Barbara. Appreciate it.
Okay, we'll get together and make that happen.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks, Dave.
One thought
Yes, Chris?
might be to add a click button on the data entry page that says, would you like your assembly person contacted about this? And then you need to put your address in, in the next field, and then it would be reported, because it seems like a really good vehicle for feedback and for us to be able to do our jobs better if we are actually hearing what people are saying.
Mr. Chair, I am going to strongly discourage you from doing that. How many entries do you have in AnkWorks?
Just from the beginning of the year, approximately 2,500.
2,500, and they are all going to click that box.
That's
You're going to just be
Yeah.
overwhelmed.
Okay.
So I'm going to suggest, I do think that that's important, but I think we can provide it to you in a different
Filter.
vehicle. And I think some of you also know that the Ombudsman provides data to you by assembly district. And I'm going to guess that if AnkWorks succeeds and if the Ombudsman succeeds, you're not going to hear from those constituents. But if we fail, you are going to hear from those, and those are probably the ones you do need to hear from. So, but of course, we'll do it if that's what you want.
No.
Mr. Rivera will volunteer for District 4.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for volunteering me. No, I've worked with this before. I was actually part of the group that helped sort of create this. Just sort of for everyone's knowledge on the body, A lot of the stuff that might be considered sort of assembly related actually goes to the mayor's office. When we vote on things, the mayor's office typically gets the complaints of, dang it, you raised my taxes, or why'd you vote yes on this? So it would be helpful to get that, especially perhaps more frequently in relation to the mayor's office stuff, just so we can get a pulse of the concerns of our constituents.
Yeah.
Anything else, Dean?
Mr. Dyson actually had a second question.
Mr. Dyson,
His second
sorry.
question first. His first question was about prioritization, and most of these different issue types are automatically classified low, medium, and high, and that classification, of course, can be changed by the person, investigator, or inspector working the issue.
Mr. Thompson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last note, I keep coming back to this idea of the feedback loop, because what I know from my experience in the community council is that folks say, I'm reporting the homeless camps and nothing's being done. And I hear that all the time. And so it'd be nice to see a report that shows us somehow if the responses are being made and how timely. That way I can respond back honestly and credibly to them that, okay, these are happening or it's not happening. Or so the feedback loop is really important.
That's an excellent question.
It's,
Can I talk about that? So Nora works for the mayor's office. I worked a lot on the homeless camp part of this, which we can go over to if you guys want. Lieutenant Carson can go over and if you know the system. When we stood this part, it's kind of an offshoot from Anchorage Works because everything is GIS mapped a little bit differently since camps don't have addresses by nature. So one of the things that we didn't have last summer was a great feedback loop like you were talking about. But this summer, it's a lot better. We now, constituents get emails when they put in a point, which they did before. But they now get emails when the CAP team goes out and posts the camp. So they know, hey, the camp has been posted. They get another notification when the 15-day mandatory waiting period has lapsed. So they say, hey, your camp is ready to be cleaned. And then they get another email saying, hey, your camp has been cleaned. And that's helpful for just their edification, but it's also helpful because if then another camp pops up within 15 yards or whatever, which we commonly think was the case when people were saying nothing's been done.
Right.
We think that actually things had been done because we were pretty efficient last summer of getting those camps cleaned up, but just another one that popped up and they didn't notice the difference between the two. So that will also be helpful to make sure that then they're reporting that new camp again, or maybe then the police can say, hey, this is kind of a hot spot for people. What can we do to help mitigate that situation and make this a little bit less desirable place? So hopefully with the homeless camp specifically, the feedback will be a little bit better this summer.
And just, if you haven't seen it, the homeless camp report is the first link. The reporting page is different because it is ArcGIS application. AnkWorks can't locate lat long or a coordinate, XY coordinate on a map. It wants to tie everything to a parcel or an address. And if you're reporting an illegal camp, it's in Kincaid Park, that you may end up with a report that's significantly wrong. And so this is the report that they were just talking about. Instead of entering a free-form location or entering an address, they actually will pin the exact physical location on a map, and everybody will get the actual geospatial coordinates for the exact location of that homeless camp.
Question, Ms. Seven Rivers? Yes, with that.
Thank you. Is there a target response resolution line?
I can't speak to that for any of the departments. All the departments sort of manage the process once they receive the service requests themselves, and I don't think there is a consistent across the board process or commitment to providing a response.
And if I could, sorry, just because I did work on this. So, like it was stated before, there's a high, medium, and low sort of priority when you put things in. And so while there isn't a general consensus, I know that the mayor's office, which does track these, they tend to follow sort of a 48-hour, 3-day, and then maybe 1 week kind of time frame, and they try to keep on these as best as they can. But again, it'd be good for us to get the data so that we can follow up as well.
Any other questions from assembly members? Thank you, Dean. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you inviting me to speak about this.
So APD's next, Barbara?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Did you have a PowerPoint presentation, or did you?
I'm just going to log on to the meeting website.
Okay. Oh, okay. So leave the lights on?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Oh, do you need this information?
Please.
It's not connected to the network. You don't have a website connection. So you should use Wi-Fi.
Oh, it's fine.
Okay.
So it should be all set.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Figured out.
Okay, I'm Lieutenant Carson with the Cambridge Police Department. Obviously, I'm here today to present about our raids online, or our statistical program, which can be very, very valuable to you guys. If you guys have any other general questions, especially about like reporting homeless camps, things like that, or anything be related, as long as it stays within the scope, things get done. I'm here for you guys. Just, if you guys got questions, let me know, and I'll answer them the best I can. The main focus was to kind of show you guys kind of how to use the statistical program that we use for the Anchorage Police Department and what it can do for you guys and your members. I'll apologize if
By the way, we are going to shoot another photo. So if you wonder why your picture's not on there, we haven't done a new one yet. We're going to, though.
So if you guys log onto the Moody website, you guys see maps. You guys can click on maps. It's going to give you guys a whole variety of options from there. Then if you go Anchorage Crime Maps, or mapping, the Anchorage Police Department, it's going to go into the actual system, which is based on the LexisNexis, formerly known as RAIDS.
You can also get to it from the police page and from just typing in communitycrimemap.com.
So if you guys, when you guys log on, you guys notice the little spaces on the left here. This is where you kind of fill in what you want to see. So you can do the overall Anchorage area, or you can type in an actual address. If you guys type in an address, it'll kind of, what it'll do is we'll do that in a second. It'll actually kind of circle off an area for you. So,
Mr. Dyson, question.
Are you excluding Eagle River because there's no crime? Or do you have a bigger scale map?
Well, Amy told us you have no crime out there. No dog problems, no crime.
This is the area the whole assembly should be focused on.
You know that?
Dick, that's the area the whole assembly should be focused on.
Yeah, downtown. What's
zoom
nice
out.
is they did set this up so we can specify assembly districts. So if you want to see your district, they should be able to bring that up too.
And you continue to zoom out, and you'll be able to see Eagle River.
Thank you.
And then you can zoom into the Eagle River area.
There you go. There you go,
Kick
Fred.
all the crime, Fred.
There you go.
It's only happened since you got put in. But I tell you, there was no crime before then.
So if you guys jump over on the left-hand side of the screen here, this really gives you your guys' options. So this is for the whole Anchorage area. That's where you start out. You can do
The White House.
date ranges.
Sure, if you put that in, it'd be like all kinds of crime. It's just a crime period.
So you can either do it by entering a date range, or you can do a quick date range, where you guys can do, say, the last month. And it'll auto-calculate it, so it'll update it up to the side there for you. And then you can also limit it by events. If you click on events, if you're wanting to click certain events,
Did you tell us what the different colors mean?
we're going to show that in a second. So you can see all the, this has got a whole bunch selected right now. But say we wanted to see how many stolen vehicles were done in the last month. So you can, it auto selects kind of the big ones. We'll try and get it down to a matter of that. And you notice it'll keep updating as you're going here. So, obviously we're circled into the Merrillfield area. It'll show all the vehicle thefts for the last month. We'll just kind of show downtown. So that the vehicle theft shows where the vehicle was reported stolen from. It's not where it was recovered, but and the same with any of the crimes. It's going to show kind of the initiating area where we believe the crime happened. It'll show a ping, like for vehicles, it's got the little vehicle. For each crime, it's got its own different tile. If you look along the side here, you can see the tile for each one of those. As you zoom out, they start becoming dots, but they are, that's the general tiles for them. You can kind of see the overall, the different tiles that they got for everything.
Lieutenant, could you show them how to break it down by assembly district?
Yes.
Because most of us are going to want to know what crime is in our assembly district.
Yes. And I will pick that one.
Mr. Dyson, sorry, sir.
I was pointing to the other.
Chris, sorry.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question. Would bicycle thefts, would those be categorized just under the general theft category?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So vehicle theft, anything with a motor, like a boat, car, airplanes,
Okay.
functions, things like that. So if you click on the tile, it'll give you the actual, it'll give you what it is. So, the crime stolen vehicle, location to date, 4/8/2017, the time that it was reported. And then it won't give you guys the exact address. It'll give you guys a proximity. So in the area of West 12. And that, I guess, can close out. So you guys can go on each one of the tiles and kind of get the individuals. It won't give you guys the exact address on the civilian version. Obviously, within the Acres Police Department, we have a little more access where it actually pings it right on it. But this is
in there.
You have already said this, Susan. Is this data based on reports then that have been filed? I mean,
yes.
okay.
Yeah, unreported crime obviously doesn't
Right.
get on here.
But I know sometimes someone will file a report like their stolen vehicle, and then it can be determined that actually this is stolen.
So, yeah, so this gets updated and changed as time goes on. So if it's a reported vehicle, we get the reported vehicle, and it's classified as a stolen vehicle. It'll come up on here. But as if, say, a month later we recover the vehicle and it is determined that it wasn't a stolen vehicle, that it was a drug deal gone wrong, when it gets reclassified, this map will update as it goes on. So the actual reported crime, if you're pulling it relatively recent, can sometimes be skewed from the way it actually kind of shakes out down a couple months down the road. So when we get to the bottom of what really happened.
The big thing that people see that they get upset about too, just for your constituents, is they'll have reported a theft or a burglary, and then they don't find it on the map. Mostly that's because sometimes the definitions of the theft and the burglary people don't understand. So they're looking kind of for the wrong thing. So I would suggest to your constituents, hey, maybe check the burglary option too and see if it's on there, and then remind them that their dots are going to be offset by about 600 feet, so they won't be at their exact address. It'll be in the general vicinity. But sometimes people get frustrated because they can't find their exact crime or what they reported on the map because things are a little bit skewed that way.
And a lot of people aren't completely informed with the actual laws, the difference. A lot of people can confuse theft, robbery, and burglary, where their house will be broken into and they'll say, I got robbed. And really, a robbery is by force. So if you weren't there and your house got broken into, we classify that as a burglary. So a lot of times what they think they're searching for, we got it under the kind of statutory name where it's defined under. So she's 100% right. That it makes sure that they kind of know legally what their crime is defined as, because that's how it will be defined in this.
Fred, you have questions, sir?
Yeah. Is there any way that the public can be enlisted for looking for stolen vehicles? You know, by license, type and license plate?
Yes and no. It's kind of it's a complicated question. I think yes in some ways. And there's great websites out there. If you guys have logged on to Stolen in Alaska, it's actually a very good website where people go and they self-report their stolen items, and the success on that is amazing. And it's kind of a social media that people report to, and then all of a sudden they'll get notices. Hey, your vehicle's over here. I just saw it. And then so there's a way to do that. We have limitations on us what we can put out there. Obviously, we got CJIS requirements on if our data is coming from our internal computer system. There's limitations on what we can release out there to the general public. So are we going to start putting out mass lists of every license plate number of every stolen vehicle? I don't see that in the near future, but I think there's mechanisms to do it. I just with the Department of
Got your
Agriculture.
answer. And parenthetically, what was done years ago with the hawk shops having to report has been hugely valuable and for people fencing it.
Yes.
Stolen gear. All right.
Yeah, anything that's comes into a pawn shop, they're required to hold on to it for a set number of days. It's 30 or 60 days or something like that. And then what they have to do is they then, anything that's serial number, they got to run through. Basically, we run to make sure it's not a stolen item.
Whenever you just deal with precious metals, same thing. We now require people to take in precious metals to keep it for so long and take photos of it.
Before I move on to the additional stuff, so here you can limit right now the vehicle theft. You can do it for any array of crimes that are listed here. You have to see homicide, death investigation, sex assault, robbery, aggravated assault, theft, fraud, chocolate. You can limit it. You can do it all. I can tell you that this screen is limited to 500 items. So as you guys do your date ranges out, and or you guys select a whole variety of crimes, you can overwhelm the system if you go above 500 with the civilian version. So it may not show at all. So if you're looking for something particular, if you limit it to those particular items, you'll get kind of a more accurate report. So that you click which ones you want, and then the offenders one, it's not really being used anymore. You got the analytical layers that you can do. So you can do a crime density map. So if you want to look at what the hotspots for Anchorage are, it'll lay over the crime densities, so you can kind of see where the hot areas are for vehicle thefts. Move it out so you can see the river. But it'll kind of show the hotspots within Anchorage where vehicle thefts have happened in the last month. So as you zoom out again, everything starts becoming dots. But as you get closer, it'll start showing the hotspots. So you can do that. Crime density. There's
So
another.
Chris, is your area a hotspot area?
So, sir, I was going to say, people wonder why I make so much noise at these meetings. Because I hear it all the time. All the time.
Both you and us in Midtown.
Yeah. Huh.
If you hit Midtown, you're going to show where a hotspot area for theft too.
Yeah. There are many, but downtown has a very unique situation. Those red spots are telling.
And this is right where Mr. Traney was talking about. You can also separate it out with different, into different areas. What these do is they actually lay over the top of this map. It doesn't just calculate for that area. So you can separate it, or you can lay an over map that shows the different police beats. So if you go, you click on the police beat, it will show you what beat it is. So it's 21 is the area. Doesn't mean a lot unless you're very familiar with our system. You can do it by the House districts, Legislative Senate districts, and Community Council districts, and Assembly. So, bring it in here. Click on Assembly 4. So you can kind of see how it overlays different colors. It'll kind of overlay your district, so you can kind of look in there and see where the crimes are occurring within your guys' community council area.
Sometimes you go to community council meetings and they'll say, hey, we've had a Russian crime, and so you go out here and see exactly what type of crime we're talking about. So when they put the system on, we make sure that community councils can go up and pinpoint what they do.
But just to be clear, you can't from this side pull the crime exactly in those areas. That's a limitation that we're trying to talk to LexisNexis about. But you can just kind of see it. You can't like filter that specific area. Does that make sense?
Sir? Dick?
Yes,
So
Chris.
we can't and you can, or nobody can?
The public side cannot, APD can.
Roger. Thank you.
And we will, as in your community council areas, we'll show up your community council councils. We try and make them when we can. And a lot of times when we show up those community councils, we'll have the stats for that community council. Because we can create polygons where we logs out the area. We try and do that as much as we can. I think we're more active now in community councils than probably we've ever been. They get that information out there. And then, so the other things you can do is you can do the crime data grid, which will pull up, basically it'll list out on a kind of a list form where you can see what each call kind of was about and where the approximate area that it was. Or you can just click on it on the map, and then the analytical will put it kind of in a graph form for you. So let me go back. Make this one make a little more sense. I've selected a bunch more topics, and what you'll see start filling in here is that the grids will start filling out. So you got the crime class, which will show kind of a color base on what they are and what percentage that they are for the time. And you can also look over at the date range, so it will show you what crimes are happening more each day. So obviously, theft is more prevalent on Monday, Tuesdays, and especially Sundays is another big day for that. A little down on Wednesday, Thursdays. And then I'll see some of the peaks on like Saturdays, a lower aggravated assault day, where some of the other times are higher. It kind of shows where things peak. It also gives you a heat range where you can see the days by week or hour. So a Friday at 6 p.m. or so is a day of a lot of assaults.
Mr. Dyson,
Yeah, 2 questions again. I suspect that chart would show you the assaults that happen at bar closing times or thereafter. You don't have to show me, but
Yes, you can look up that type of stuff.
yeah, all right. And then
If you're specifically just downtown.
on a sexual crimes other, does that include the distribution of pornography?
So the distribution of child porn, yes, because that would be a sex crime.
Sex crime other? Not sexual assault?
Yes, it'd be a sex crime.
Okay, so, yeah, my guess is that's tough to put on the map.
Not really, because you got the house. Child porn, where it's created, yeah, I mean, that's that's going to be difficult. But where the actual arrest and the crime was occurring,
Yeah.
it'll be by residents.
Yeah.
So they're actually downloading the product. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And sex crime other, does that include prostitution? Because it wouldn't be an assault, is it?
I'm not sure on the classification of that. I believe it would be other,
Yeah.
but I'm not 100%.
Yeah. If it's really easy for you, I'd appreciate seeing the sex crime other map. Is that possible?
Okay, please go ahead. Okay, so what do you, so you guys obviously heard the question, so how you do that?
I'd just like to see it, if you can do it quickly. Other. Yeah.
By the way, has everybody got their license plate number turned in security guard? Because I don't want your car towed away with that issue of that. Like, just want to
Still
make
there.
sure. So the truck going out there. Nothing's worse than coming after a Sunday work session and maybe your car's not there.
Oy.
Sorry. While Lieutenant Carson is talking, there's also an option to, that I don't really need to go over, it's pretty self-explanatory, but that button up top that says sign up for crime alerts, you have the option of putting in your address, putting a bubble around it, saying I want to know about crimes that happen within 1,000 feet, a half mile, a mile radius of whatever address you put in. And they can send them to daily, weekly, monthly, with kind of a list of what's going on in your area. So that might be helpful for your constituents too. And again, I don't think we'll just go over it. It's pretty easy to put in your address and tell us what you want to know type of form. But this network is also all over the country. So I know like Captain Dahl sets it up so he knows what's happening in Mom's neighborhood, Arizona. So we can do it for other places too.
And Chicago's right up at the top here. So you actually have to enter the physical address here. And it's okay. Any other questions while we're waiting for this to hopefully not lock up?
Mr. Prince, any questions? Or Mr. Rivera? Mr. Conte, any questions?
Yeah, I'm sorry to take your time.
It's okay. So what this can do for you is just make sure that
So it's fine.
I can tell you that I hear in the community council meetings as I go to them across the city is that there's a lot of truth in what people believe are out there, but there's also a lot of misperceptions in what everybody believes out there. As far as crime spikes, things like that, I got a request from the community council about maybe a week or two ago where they wanted to talk about the increase, the spike in crime in their neighborhood with vehicle thefts and burglaries. When I asked, because what's happening is they're on social media and there's a lot of talk on social media. So if you think back a couple years ago, the only thing we knew was what the 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock news told us, and they just had the highlights. Now everybody's very informed with social media, so everybody thinks there's a lot more going on, which we do have a rise in crime. I'm not going to say that we don't, but it's not quite as bad as the perceptions out there, I don't believe, because everybody's just more informed these days on what's happening around them with social media. When I actually pulled the crime stats for that area, the last, which I would like to use their neighborhood as an example for everybody to follow, is they had 0 burglaries in the last year and a half. They had, I think, 1 or 2 thefts. Everything was pretty much down in their neighborhood. They were doing really, really well. The one thing that was up about 100% was residential alarms. So we're getting a lot of calls for alarms in the area, but crime actually wasn't up in their area. But the perception that it was. So if the more we can get the people of Anchorage using this, it'll give them true data on what's being reported. Now, this is reported crime. It's not actual crime. So unreported crime obviously isn't going to show up here. I'd like to think that most people would call on a burglary. But a simple theft, if someone gets their cooler stolen off their porch, a lot of times people they think it's an inconvenience or don't want to take the time to report it. So those numbers will be a little more skewed. So.
We've got about 10 minutes till we have to start the next work session, so.
Time for a break.
And this is locking up on us, so it's...
Gotta pee, get coffee.
But it's as simple as that, is you You just go, you select the one target that you want, and then it's there. So you can see it's the purple one. So if we go downtown.
And you're gonna want to love Chris.
They'll start showing the use new ads. So
Forrest said to me after one of these.
we're already having on it, so we do the indecent exposure. So that's the other. That's recorded.
Looks like Spenard has lost his,
His notoriety?
yeah.
I like
I
to
think
think
that was Joe Murdy Fred that got rid of
Yeah.
it, Spinard.
Let's,
Remember Joe?
let's look at Eagle River. What do we see here?
Zoom out. See in context.
Losing River is crime free.
Yeah.
Sex crime free.
Very spicy there.
Prostitution free.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get a visual on Walmart. Never mind.
any questions?
Any questions, somebody else?
I'm really impressed.
Lieutenant, thank you so much for coming here today. We appreciate it. If you have any specific questions, go to the police department in the morning. You shout at me. We've got about 10 minutes until we start the next one.
Right,
Barbara?
that's correct. I do have one announcement that I would like to make, and that is, I was going to ask Jackie Yeagle. You should have all gotten an email from Jackie Yeagle in the clerk's office, and Jackie has asked that you complete your APOC POFD forms, and she's gotten one. But it's Jackie's reading, and she's called APOC. And newly elected members
She's gotten
have. You filed two?
Yeah?
Yeah. The vote and stuff.
So filed with the clerk's office.
Oh, so I need to file with the clerk's office.
You have to file with APOC, then you have to bring a copy over here.
Okay.
Give it to the clerk's
Sorry.
office, sign it there,
And it has to be signed in
put it on
Louis.
the file.
Got
So,
it. Roger.
which really makes no sense.
Right.
But that's okay, that's what the code, that's supposedly what they interpret the state statutes to say. So you have to file with APOC, and then you print a copy and sign it, and then it gets filed with the clerk's office. And Jackie's gonna, has sent you an email, and if you need any assistance, she can assist you with that. But
So
that's.
just make sure you go to the clerk's office and sign it, give it to them, because we've had problems before. So people file with APOC, and they don't manage to get it down here, so you get a file here too.
Okay.
All right, Ron.
Nope, that's exactly true.
Okay, we'll be
But
back.
that's all I've got.
So we start in 10 minutes, 10 o'clock?
Yes.
Thank you. Worksession's over with.